Good people YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and it's been 6 months since I got my Black Bay 58 925, and a lot has happened in the meantime, to say the least. So a lot of you guys have been asking, and finally today I'm gonna give you guys all the 6-month Tarnish update, and then I'm gonna go into my loves and hates about the watch in general now that I've lived with it and with the Tarnish for quite some time. So also, if you want more specific details and stuff like that, you know, check out my first video on the 925, and then you might as well just go ahead and watch the rest of the Tudor Tarnish tales and all the other updates over there. So yeah, just go check that out afterwards. But yeah, let's get into it. So real quick, let's just recap what's been happening over the past 6 months for those of you who've been following the Tudor Tarnish tales, since I first got it and first broke the news about the tarnishing. You'll know that the tarnish is actually something that I was okay with and something that I was actually excited to see, you know, how it progressed over time and things like that. So here it is at the start when I first got it, and as you can see, the silver hue is just unreal and it looks so different compared to regular steel. It's incredible, and the overall look is bright, and outside in the sun it's truly unlike anything else, and that pretty much is all down to the fact that it's fully brushed, because it just plays with the light like crazy. So yeah, and just in general, brush metal is always gonna be a big plus for me. But after 1 month it started to tarnish, which was pretty wild considering Tudor's initial marketing saying that it won't tarnish, then Tudor reconfirming that it's not supposed to tarnish, even after many more examples of the 925 started popping up. And finally, this is what it looks like during the last update, which was the 3-month update. And yeah, at that point, the silver look was pretty much gone. Okay, so let's just forward to present day right now, and it's been 6 months, and as you can see, it has tarnished more, but not at a crazy rate, which I guess could be considered a good thing for those of you who are worried about the tarnish getting too crazy too quickly. So I will say that I haven't worn my 925 every single day during the summer through the humidity and the sweat and all that stuff over there. So obviously I think that is playing into the relatively subtle increase in tarnish. So that being said, you know, one thing that is clear is that the overall tarnish's warm tone is more intense and more consistent throughout the entire case, meaning that a couple months ago, sometimes in some particular lights, outside and things like that, flashes of silver did pop out still. Now, however, though, the case is warm all the time, which is interesting because now I've basically got a watch that is edging towards looking like a kind of reddish gold kind of thing going on over there. Also, in the insides of the lugs where the tarnish has been more intense, the intensity has increased as well, although in some lights it does fade away quite a bit, but I think that's just more down to it just being a little bit more shiny than the rest of the case. Also, in my last video, I tried out the eraser tarnish removal technique, which was weirdly easy and effective, and I took off the tarnish from the insides of the lugs and on the 12 o'clock side, and since then the tarnish has come back just as expected, you know, considering that it is silver. But I was surprised at how quickly the tarnish came back, considering that it hasn't been outside very much. So yeah, the tarnish is coming along nicely, but maybe not as quickly as I would have hoped, actually. So yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that, you know, I've now owned this watch for 6 months. You know, time just flew by over there. So most importantly, on the wrist, it felt really great because this watch head does weigh more than my Black Bay Blue 58, but quite subtly though, I think it's just about like 10 grams or so. But yeah, while it doesn't sound like very much, it does make a pretty big difference, because every single time I pick it up, I can tell that I'm picking up something different, not just another steel watch, and that really did add to the overall sense of occasion, which was pretty cool. And the good thing is that the added weight on the wrist was barely noticeable, just because, you know, while it does weigh more than similarly sized steel watches, it still doesn't weigh as much as other big watches in general. So it doesn't feel tiring at all, because I think that silver is just like that happy medium where you can kind of get the experience of something different than steel, but not going to the absolute other side where it's just a bit too crazy. Yeah, the case finishing played a huge role in my overall experience with the 925, because I absolutely love brushed metal. I will always prefer my watches to be as brushed as possible, you know, short of maybe like a nice little bevel on the case, or, you know, Grand Seikos are just a different thing. So at that point, I want polishing. But the finishing of this particular case is done beautifully, absolutely beautifully, and it's actually quite different compared to the finish of the steel black bays. So I was, of course, super happy that the whole case was done like that and that it stayed in pretty good condition, at least up until now. But on top of these aesthetic changes, I just really enjoyed seeing the Black Bay, a watch that, you know, so many people know and love, or at least are very familiar with, look so different compared to what I've been used to for so many years previous to that. I mean, like, I've owned my Black Bay Blue since it came out, and one thing that's always bothered me a little bit was the fact that the case sides were polished, and obviously they're polished very, very nicely, so there's no doubt about that, but obviously I would have preferred it to have a brush side with a thin bevel and stuff like that, kind of like the SNE 569 from Seiko. So yeah, I wish Tudor did that, because it just adds extra little oomph to it. So if you've been watching my channel for, I mean, pretty much any amount of time, you'll know that my favorite color is undoubtedly gray. So obviously a Black Bay that has a gray dial and a gray bezel, I mean, it was obviously gonna be a winner, and it continues to be a winner because of the tone of the gray, which is absolutely spot on. So the gray here isn't very warm, nor is it like very cool, despite the, you know, stupid press photo showing that it's basically a chocolate brown, which it absolutely isn't. So it's relatively easy to pair straps with it. Well, I guess before the tarnish kicked in, which we're gonna talk about. But yeah, I mean, just seeing this absolutely gorgeous dial and bezel is just incredible, and it's just even better that it's on a Black Bay 58 form factor, which means that's pretty much guaranteed to be in my sweet spot, which it is. So I must say that the early days of the 925 were incredible and amazing, just because, you know, like I said, the silver sheen was just insane. But even after the tarnish set in, I really did continue to enjoy it, just because I've pretty much never owned a watch that wasn't a white metal. I mean, I really did enjoy the experience of wearing a metal that was warmish in tone while still having a watch that looked like a white metal on the whole. So yeah, I mean, I just love watches that give me, you know, something to look at and stare at, you know, or something that's just a little bit different compared to, you know, what's the normal things that are out there, or the normal other watches in my collection that are just steel. So at the start, I was absolutely in love with it, and there weren't really many negatives to speak of, but, you know, now that, you know, I've had 6 months to live with it, you know, I can see things a little bit clearly now. Can I say the rest of that line? I don't think so. So the first thing that really bothered me, and, you know, this might not be something that applies to everyone, but I wish that this came on a silver bracelet. That would have been awesome. And honestly, if this was happening even just last year or something like that, I probably wouldn't have cared about not having a bracelet, because I wasn't a bracelet guy back then. But now, I don't know for what reason and just what clicked in my mind, but pretty much every watch that I wear is on a bracelet, or I would want it to be on an amazing rubber strap. And the proof of that is pretty much ever since, you know, the beginning of, you know, this year's spring, every single watch that I've worn every single day has been either on a bracelet or they've been G-Shocks. One of the two. So as a result, I did wear the 925 a lot, but I didn't wear it as much as I would have hoped, just because mainly it wasn't on a bracelet once again. Yeah, and on top of that, there's no way that I can even get an aftermarket bracelet on it, just because the color clash would be just too much, and also the steel of the bracelet would damage the insides of the lug, so that's a no-go. And one might say that, you know, everything can be solved, you know, if Tudor somehow releases a silver bracelet, but that actually wouldn't solve everything, you know, almost at all. Well, first of all, I mean, the bracelet would be crazy expensive, but more importantly, my case has tarnished, and it's nowhere near looking like the original pure silver. And any new bracelet, any new silver bracelet would have that original pure silver look, which would clash with the with my case right now. And also on top of that, it would tarnish at different rates as well, because who knows what's going to be in it. No. So yeah, the tarnish tone is in the dislike section as well, but for a good reason. At the start, I was excited about the tarnish, and you know, I was excited to see how quickly it was progressing, and I was expecting crazy results, you know, as I said. But it has tarnished a good amount in that it's completely different from what it was like at the start, but the tarnish kind of got stuck in the middle of nowhere, so it doesn't look like it's going to be tarnishing intensely anytime soon. At one point, the tarnish was there, but not very visible, so you could still see the brilliant silver finish, and then it grew. But even at that point, you know, it still looked like silver, in some lights at least. But now it's a completely warm hue all the way around the case, and there's just no way to see that original silver sheen and color. And it also hasn't become fully blacked out either, which is what I was hoping for from the start. So yeah, now it's just neither here nor there. And now it's much more difficult to pair a strap with it because of the clashing color tones. And yeah, I know that's not going to be a big deal for most people, but I just happen to be very, very sensitive to, you know, color tones and temperatures and things like that. So yeah, the reason why this bothers me is because the super warm tone of the case clashes quite a bit with the cool tone of the gray of the dial and bezel. And yeah, let's be real, I mean, it was never taupe, no matter what they said. And actually, if it was taupe and brown, it probably would have fixed this entire issue. And the part that really gets me are the ultra white and crisp indices. So now I kind of wish that they had some sort of fauxtina on it, because that once again would have fixed the issue as well. But now this clashing of warm and cool tones is a bit much, and I think it's gonna stay like this for the foreseeable future. So yeah, which is definitely quite irritating. And yeah, I think it might be time to, you know, speed things up, you know, maybe in a pool or something like that, maybe. Yeah, let me know let me know down in the comments if that's something that you would like to see, for that matter. So yeah, there is a lot to love about the 925, and you know, a lot not to love about the 925, but I think overall I'm enjoying the experience, but I do have quite a lot to think about what I do with it, you know, in the future. I'm just hoping that, you know, when I'm wearing it outside during the winter, that the tarnish will pick up a little bit more and get me a little bit closer to that fully tarnished look. Also, another option would be to eventually send it into Tudor to have the tarnish removed and also maintain the absolutely gorgeous finish on it. So which actually might be a pretty interesting experience to share with, you know, everyone over here as the Tudor tarnish tales continue over here. But yeah, let me know what you all think about the 925 in general, or what you think about the tarnish as well, or if you're an owner, how's it been going along for you? Because I know for sure that a lot of you have a lot of opinions on the situation, so I want to hear all of them down below. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, or if you're finding this content helpful, go ahead and hit the like button, and then go ahead and hit the subscribe and the notification bell. Well, subscribe button and the notification bell, because, you know, that's going to help the channel keep on growing and, you know, expand this to other people out over there. But yeah, until the next video, good day.